Hello, hello, hello. We should be back. It's time for Pro, you're right. Don't worry about it, Knuckle. I did see your email, but I got it too late. Sorry. We'll do next time. Hey, you guys ready for some Podnutz Pro action? We need to get like a announcer, like, you know, like Sunday, like a monster truck for monster trucks for Podnutz Pro.
And now,
All right, let's get Matt in view. Matt's there. Lalo's there. Me and Matt. Lalo, Matt. Me and Lalo.
awesome.
And let me just make sure I get the episode up there.
And in 3 hours, it'll be officially my birthday.
Serious?
Yeah.
Happy birthday. I'm glad
Thank
you
you.
reminded me.
Yeah, happy birthday and happy new year.
Hey, it's funny because there's someone on Twitter, I don't know who it was, I forget their name. They had made a comment about one of my postings, and they go, hey, by the way, Happy New Year. I thought it was hilarious.
Check, check.
Check. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Check, check. Check, check. Okay. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Here we go. Ready, Matt?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to Podnutz. Oops, sorry. Let's try that again.
Remix.
Welcome to Podnutz Pro, episode number 14. The show, the only show in the world that takes you from, I think that's accurate actually, that takes you from residential computer repair and IT to small business repair. We take you through that step because a lot of guys want to go to businesses. They want to fix businesses. They say that's where the money's at. And that's true in some cases. Some people just want to know to expand their scope of computer repairness, if that's a word. So that's what we try to do in this show. Take you from the residential into the unknown of business and enterprise and that kind of thing. And we do it with our panel of experts, as usual, starting with Matt Rainey from ah-computers.com. Yo, Matt.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Lalo.
Yo.
What's happening with you lately?
Oh, it's been a long week with personal things. Actually, I haven't been working much in the past 4 or 5 days, but getting back into it now.
Really? Why not? Sickness?
Everybody's sick. Everybody's sick. So
That's
we're
hard.
over that. Back at work today. So we'll see.
Harsh. Well, I hope everyone gets better.
Oh yeah, they're better now. So maybe I'll get some sleep tonight.
Cool.
Good luck. And introducing Lalo Nunez from BetterPCTech.com. Hey, Lalo.
Yo, what's going on?
Not much. What's going on with you?
Happy Hump Day.
Hump day. Haven't heard that in a while. That's used in the workplace.
Yes, I didn't know what that was like 8 months ago.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, I was like, Hump Day. Oh, Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you all out there.
Exactly. What a nice thing.
Nice visual on that hump day. Yeah.
All right. Let's get started here. Let me pull up some Matt's notes. Matt, what do you want to go over today?
Today I got a few stories. Two of them about dealing with problems with the internet and dealing with the internet provider. It's actually two things that came up pretty close together for different clients that I've never seen before. So I want to talk about those and how I was troubleshooting those. A lot of these techniques used to be troubleshooting any kind of internet connectivity or email problems. And then another thing that hasn't happened to me before was a client actually moving away from a domain once they've already had it.
Okay.
Back to a peer-to-peer setup, which they had their reasons, and we'll go over that. But I didn't agree with them.
You just hate that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
That's worse than putting network drops behind water fountains.
It is worse. It is worse.
All right. Well, carry on, you guys. Let me pull up Matt's notes. I'm still trying to find them here. Go ahead, Matt or Lalo.
Okay, so the first instance that I had was we had a client moving locations, which is pretty common. So in the in the midst of moving locations. They moved far enough away to where they were going to be in a different node, so they had to change their IP address, which is not a big deal. You program the router, you change DNS settings, and you're pretty much done. So when the day that they moved, I went out there, did all the basic stuff, put the router information in, was able to get online, change the DNS stuff for their mail, no big deal. Told her, okay, you should be getting mail by Monday. Takes a little while for these DNS changes to propagate. I always say 48 hours. It's really not. It's really sometimes 3 or 4 hours. But I tell them 48 just to be safe. So if you're not getting mail Monday, give me a call. I got a call 2 weeks later. We're not getting email. Okay. Since when? I asked. Well, since the move. Okay. I guess email's not that important because it took them 2 weeks to call. So I start troubleshooting the email. First thing I think is, okay, something happened with the DNS. Maybe I entered something wrong, got the wrong number. So I verified my DNS changes. I changed the MX record. That was correct. DNS all looked good. So I tried emailing just a test email to see if it bounces back. No bounce back. So at this point, in this particular customer, and you're going to see this a lot when you go on to do customer support, their mail does not go straight to their mail server. What we have in place for a lot of our customers is spam filtering. So we have a device, a Barracuda hardware appliance, that all the mail for most of our clients goes to that device first. And then once it's done its thing, checking for viruses, checking for spam, it sends it to their mail server. So, a typical MX record for somebody, let's just use podnutz.com, for example. An MX record might be mail.podnutz.com, a typical company. It's not uncommon if you're looking at, let's say Podnutz had mail filter. I don't know if it does or not, but let's say podnutz.com has mail filtering. It's not uncommon for it not to be mailed. It might be something like spam filtering dot whatever company.com, okay? Which means it's going to their device. So the benefit of having this spam filter set up on our side is I can log into my spam console and see how far the mail is getting. Okay, when I emailed them, it didn't bounce back, and they didn't get it. So something along the way happened. So I can log into my spam console, and I see my mail sitting there, and it says something like can't contact host server or destination server, meaning my mail hit the Barracuda spam patrol box, but when it tried to send it to their mail server, it was not able to reach it, which is very strange.
That is strange.
So I know it's not my spam filtering, and I know it's something with their mail server. So just for testing, I just changed the MX record to bypass our spam filter, go straight to their mail server. Okay, didn't work. No effect. The only thing that did was basically I can't see logs from the Barracuda. It just took out one level of logging.
Okay.
So I put all that back. Now, with these business accounts that you have on any business internet account that I've dealt with, they don't block any ports.
Okay.
Because you're a business. I mean, they block it on residential, but they don't block it on businesses.
And which port would that be, sir?
Standard port for mail, port 25.
All right.
So one test I did, I tried the telnet. I just telnet their IP address space 25. Now, if this is working, you should get an echo response, hello from whatever mail server as a response. So I did telnet their IP space 25, gets nothing. It just says can't contact server. Now, granted, the first time I did it from my computer, from my office. Okay. Now, if we remember past episodes, I should not be able to do that because my computer should not be allowed port 25 out. So I thought that was stupid. So I got on my server. which is allowed port 25 out. Try the telnet IP address space 25, no response. Okay, just to test, I tried another mail server that we manage, able to get to it no problem. So now I know that port 25 is not accepting any connections. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they're blocking port 25, which would be strange because I've never seen it before. One of the reasons you get a business static IP address is so you can have everything open. So I do some more troubleshooting. Nothing I do is working. You know, there's a tool called SMTP Diag. And if you just search Google for SMTP Diag, it's a really nice tool. What this does is from a command prompt, you can use this tool and you basically just type in SMTP Diag space, I think it's sender address space recipient address. And it's going to go through a bunch of checks. It's going to see if DNS resolves. It's going to see if their mail server responds. If it does respond, will accept mail from your IP address. It does a bunch of checks. That's a really cool tool to use if you're diagnosing email connectivity issues. And, you know, a lot of times if you're on a blacklist, it'll come back and say not accepted for a blacklist. It'll give you a reason why it's not accepted. When I ran it on their server, timed out trying to talk to the server. DNS resolved, and just to check to connect to the server failed. So at this point, I'm calling the ISP. Now, it's very strange because I've never seen port 25 blocked, but all my testing says port 25 is blocked because mail was working on their old IP address. It just stopped working when they moved and got a new IP address. Now, when you call these ISPs, remember, nothing is their fault. That's their standpoint. So when I talked to them, I said, look, I think I need you to look into this IP address. I think port 25 is blocked. And of course, they say, we don't block any ports. I say, I understand that, but here's what I've done. And it looks as if y'all are blocking it. And he says, this is funny. He says, well, we don't even have the capability to block any ports. We couldn't block it if we wanted to.
Right.
Now, of course, I said, well, okay, I know that's not true. I know you had the capability to block ports. But so, you know, and basically when you're dealing with these ISPs, you have to convince them. They're not going to check. They're not going to check. You have to convince them that they need to look into it. So the last thing I did to convince him is I set the router to obtain an IP address on DHCP. So I got another address. Now, again, this shouldn't work because on dynamic addresses, they're supposed to be blocking port 25 because you're not supposed to have port 25 open on dynamic IP addresses. They do that for spam filtering. You know, they don't want people just getting an IP and sending out mail, you know.
Right.
So it shouldn't work. But I set it on DHCP, and I was able to telnet to port 25 to that IP address. And when I told him that, he says, well, let me look into it then. Now, remember, he said they don't even have the capability to block it.
Right.
So he's looking into it, and he says, well, you know, I'm looking, everything's set to allow. And I said, wait a minute. Whoa. I said, I don't understand. If everything's set to allow, that means you can set things to block, right? He said,
Right.
yes. I said, well, you just told me you didn't have the option to set it to block. Now you're telling me everything's set to allow. Well, yeah, everything's set to allow by default. I said, okay, so now we're getting somewhere by default. So you can block it if you want. He said, yeah, we could, but we don't block things on business IPs. I said, I understand, but it seems that you're blocking this one. And of course, they get on the defensive, which is understandable. They don't want to, I don't know, maybe it's level 1 support. I don't know. But he says, we have a lot of companies on this node, and we haven't had any issues reported with port 25 blocked. I said, are you sure? Because maybe they're not using port 25. Maybe they have mail going out on a different port. I said, we're just using the standard port of 25. And he did not want to look. He didn't want to check. So basically said, I'm going to push this up to the network engineers and they'll call you.
Sure.
So, and all this time, my client hasn't had email for 2 weeks. Now, again, some of this is their fault because they're supposed to call me Monday. and they
Right.
waited 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But they're understanding, they're patient. I told them, look, I think this is what's happening. I'm working with the ISP. We're going to get this resolved. So the network engineer calls me and said, okay, yeah, nothing's blocked. So, I don't, check your configuration. I said, well, I've checked my configuration. So I had to go over him, everything I've tried. And I said, well, look, okay, I'm going to set it back to the static IP, and you try and tunnel it into it. So he tried to tunnel it to it. Okay, he couldn't do it. Now, in the modem, they can see what IP address you're connecting from. So then I set it back to DHCP. He says, okay, now I see the IP address you're getting now. I said, okay, now tunnel it to that port. Tunnel it to that IP. He said, okay. He says, that works. I said, yes, I know that works. I know it works. He says, well, he says, it seems port 25 is blocked. I said, yes, that's what I've been saying for 2 days now. So then he says, well, let me call you back. So in the end, he calls me back and he says, okay, I found in one of the subsystems, it said SMTP block was set to yes. He said, so that may be an issue.
How does it happen?
Well, and I asked him, I said, yeah, I said that definitely could be an issue because I'm having it blocked. And I said, okay, I said, did you set it to allow? Yes. I said, okay, but you and the other engineer both told me that you could not block it if you wanted to. He says, well, that wasn't entirely true.
Why would he say that?
I don't know. Again, they don't want to check. I don't know what it is. If it, when I deal with ISPs, it's their system. If they say it's one way, it's hard to argue with them.
Right.
But in this instance, I've never seen port 25 blocked on a business account. Never. But all my testing shows me port 25 was blocked. So in the end, he admitted they were wrong. They unblocked port 25 and everything worked perfectly. Now, my customer is very upset by this. And in these instances, I tell him, look, I tell my customer, the bill goes to my customer, okay? I advise them, you need to call customer service when you get my bill, or call them now. Call customer service, explain what happened. You're going to get a bill for so many hours, and you need them to pay it, and you need a credit. Because at least Cox Internet will do it. I think others will too. They'll just pay the bill and give them a couple months credit. Now, again, I have some clients say, well, can you send the bill to Cox? I said, no, I can't send the bill to Cox. I don't have any billing information. They didn't say they were going to pay it. That's between you and them. You're my customer. I mean, unfortunately, I have to bill you directly. You can send it to them, but you need to pay us and then reimburse you.
Right.
So they didn't have an issue with that. So in the end, I think it was like 7 hours that I had to bill them for all these troubleshooting and on the phone with Cox and on the phone with 5 different engineers and testing. I had to send them a bill for 7 hours.
Jeez.
Now that's not it. That's it's almost $700.
Yeah.
So Cox didn't blink an eye. They said, fine, send us the bill.
Wow.
And they gave him a few months credit. So, but that was interesting. Port 25 blocked on a business ISP. Now, apparently, he said this was a node-wide setting. So everyone on that node
Should be
was having
blocked.
port 25 blocked. And I don't know if they called to report it to the engineers and the engineers just dismissed it. And maybe they were checking other configurations, but I didn't let it go. I knew it was their fault. And I said, look, y'all have to get this straight for this customer. So, and I think what convinced them was setting it to DHCP and then letting him see in the modem, now they're getting this IP, let me tell that. And when it worked, he says, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So, if if your troubleshooting methods are good, don't let anybody, other technicians, Cox, be open. He said, maybe it's your configuration. Well, no, internet worked before he moved.
Right. And
Nothing changed but the router IP address.
And when I would deal with an ISPs, one of the first things they will always tell me is one of your devices. Our equipment's fine. Is something on your end? I will always get that, and like Matt was saying, I always say no. I check my cafes, I check my logs. It has to be your equipment. That's why it's very important to know common ports. If you don't know them, you have to know them. SMTP is 25, POP is 110, IMAP is 143, DNS is 53, so on and so on. If you know these ports, it makes your troubleshooting a lot easier because when you look at logs, you know what you're looking at. So,
Good tip.
Yeah, and that the two main tools I used in this was that SMTP diag, which is a really neat tool, and just basic telnet. Those two things alone told me that I can't connect on port 25. Now, use these tools from a device that's allowed port 25 out. If you got your network set up right, that's only going to be your server. It's not going to be your machine. So use this from your server.
Gotcha.
Because when I first did it, I thought, well, it's not working. And I tried other servers, they weren't working. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I can't do this on my computer. My fault. 5 minutes wasted. Now, here's another thing. I don't advise this. I've heard some people do this, and I would never do it. If they
Never.
know it's I would never do it because I don't do that. When they know Cox, some people, if they have an issue with Cox and they know Cox is going to pay the bill, they'll jack their rate up to like 50% more.
Really?
Oh yeah. Now Cox will pay it because Cox doesn't know what your rate is.
Right.
But that's not very nice. It's not honest.
right.
I charge my regular rate, but I've heard of some people doing that. Cox is gonna pay it, but again, the more they pay, rates go up for reasons. One reason rates go up for anything: software, tech support, internet services, because somebody somewhere is
Fudging.
ripping somebody off.
Right.
So,
Good point. Well, good keeping your ethics in and not doing that, Matt. I applaud
Yeah,
you.
well, I mean, that too, and if you're charging your client the one thing, then all of a sudden they get an invoice where 50% more. What's the client going to think about you? That you're
Exactly.
shady. So,
Yeah.
Right. Good point.
And so all my time is documented, so they know how many hours I spent. So if the total doesn't add up to what they normally would be, she would know something's going on.
right.
And now, so that's the first one. As the new to me, port 25 blocked. Very nice. The next one's been going on for a while. A client calls me. They always call me. My internet's slow. My internet's slow. My internet's slow. Now, when I get a call for internet slow, the first thing I do, I connect to their server. And when you have an Exchange server, the defaults on the Exchange server, I think it's set to 10 megs or maybe 20 megs for incoming and outgoing mail. I think it's 10. So and it's set to like 5,000 recipients, which is ridiculous. So let's just say one user sends a 10 meg attachment to 500 people. Okay. How many megabytes are you sending out?
That's math.
Okay. You're not sending out 10. You're sending out 10 times
5,000.
5,000. Okay. That's going to kill most internet connections.
So that's usually the first thing you check because that's the problem most of the time.
A lot of times. And the thing is, what happens is a lot of people can't receive. If they're sent to other businesses, a lot of people can't receive a 10 megabyte attachment.
Yes.
Because email is not intended for file transfer.
He is speaking the truth. I worked for small businesses that say the 10, I would tell them your limitation is 10 megs. That can't be. I want it bumped up. But you cannot do it, I'm telling you. Then they bump it up to about 15 or 20. Then I get phone calls. Person B on the other side can't get my email. Yes, because their email server is saying that your attachment is way too big. Well, then they don't get it. You have to explain why, but a good point.
Right. People try and email 20, 30, 40. I've had people trying to email 900 meg video files.
Yes, yes.
So I don't like one of the things I do for the defaults on an Exchange server install is reduce that number of recipients first. It should not be, I think it's like 5,000 default. You should never email anything to 5,000 people. Okay. I set that down to like 20 or 30, maybe 50.
Right.
If it's a big group, and if they complain about it, I might bump it to 100. But set it to a realistic number. Okay. Now, what happens when let's say one guy emailed out a 9 meg picture to 1,000 people. If they can't get that, it all goes out, and then it all comes back in as undeliverable. So you got it going out, you got it coming in. And at that point, there's no way to stop it. It's got to finish. I mean, if you send it out and it's come back in, you can't, there's no way to stop bounce backs from coming in. And the way to test this, if that is the issue, you can, on the server, start a ping test. Just get some ping times. When this happens, if it's caused by email issues, your ping times, one, are going to be really, really high, like 2,000, 1,500. Okay. What I do is I start that constant ping test, and I kill the SMTP services on the server. So any SMTP connections are now broken. That's the only way to stop things from coming in and going out. Stop the SMTP services. If it's email, those ping times will drop back to normal right away. And your browsing is going to be fine right away.
That's a good point. I never thought about doing that. Pretty neat.
So then I'll kill the SMTP services. And, again, clients will say, no, it's not email. The email went fine. Okay. What they see is it went out of their outbox into the sent items. That's what they see. They don't see the exchange queues or anything going in or coming out. They know it left their inbox sent items. Okay. So, and I kill the SMTP services. I say, okay, try it now. How's the email browser now? Oh, it's fast. You fixed it. I said, no, I didn't fix it. I just wanted you to test it. So I said, okay, now I told him I killed your mail services. Now I'm going to start them again. And when I start it, ping times go back up, browsing gets slow. And I tell them, there's nothing I can do. It's got to finish. It might take a few days, but it's got to finish.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, there's no way to stop it.
And not to mention, like your mailbox store, the meat and potatoes of your exchange bots keeps growing and growing and growing and getting bigger.
Yeah. So, and like Lalo said, you can tell them, I need to set your, outgoing mail to something reasonable, 3 or 4 megs, 5 megs. And it really is dependent on what your internet bandwidth is. I've got clients who I had a speed test on some client the other day. They were getting 0.11 megabyte, 0.11 up.
Blazing.
Yeah. Now, so if they try and send mail, that takes forever.
Right.
So I can't set them to even, I don't even want to set them to 5 or 6. I'm going to set them lower. And I explain to them, your bandwidth is limited enough. And again, email is not for file transfer. If you want to have the ability to transfer files, let's get you an FTP server.
Yes, which they will never use because they'll just go through email
Every time.
every time.
Yeah, but you know what? I do have some clients now that use it because they constantly sending big emails or large attachments, and it's just not allowed. So they wanted to know how to do it. I say, well, if you want to transfer files, we need a file transfer protocol server, also known as a FTP server.
I love how he breaks that down.
There's a whole protocol named after it. It's not something I'm making up. So now there's also services like that Send Mail or You Send It where you can do things, but it's kind of, that's basically an FTP server. It's a service
Right. And it looks more professional when you have your own FTP server. It just does.
Yeah. It looks nice because you tell them here, log in here. You can control it by individual usernames or even by company or whatever, And then I said, look, instead of emailing, just copy to this folder. To them, it's a local folder on their computer because it's their FTP server. They can map a drive to it and just copy and paste into the right folder. If they've got a folder for, Bob, just copy in Bob's folder, email Bob, you've got attachment form in his folder. He can log in and look at it.
Right.
But most clients will not want to do that. especially small businesses. It's more of an expense. I mean, there's free FTP servers, but the ones we use is FTP Serve You. It costs no money, but it works better. And if you need it, you have support for it.
Right.
But yeah, email is a big issue in small businesses. It's if it they want to do whatever they want with it. They don't want to clean their mailboxes. They don't want to do anything, and they just want it to work. So back to this customer. When I killed the SMTP services for this customer, the internet was fine. I said, okay, well, it seems that y'all are sending large mail. And in this particular instance, I just went around. There's only like 7 people. I went around and I looked at everybody's sent item. And I found the person who sent like a 7 meg video file to like 500 people. I was like, hey, this seems to be the issue. Oh, okay, don't do it. I lowered them all down to 3 megs for outgoing mail. And I left the boss, the owner, to 10 because he says, I don't do it often. He said, I know how to send it to just a few people. If I'm communicating with attorneys, it might be 1 or 2 people. I won't do it. Okay, fine. Internet worked fine for a while. I get calls again. Internet slow. Kill the SMTP services. Went back. Found the person who sent a 3 meg file to a bunch of people. I said, well, this might be it. I said, but let me do a bandwidth test on your internet. Internet was 10 down and 1 up. I said, okay, that's a little slow, 1 up. If you can afford to go up on your plan, go up on your plan. So we called Cox. They had Cox Internet too. And we told them what was happening. Slow internet constantly. And before we could even ask them about different plans, they were already in looking at the configuration of the modem and the router. They saw what IP address that they had, and they said, well, I'm seeing a conflict with your IP address. And it was, what does that mean? He says, the static IP that you have, someone else has it too. I said, well, how can somebody else have our static IP address? We've had this IP address for 7 years. I said, how long has the other person had it? And he said, about 6 months, which is how long they've been having these slowness issues.
Wow.
I said, well, how can somebody else have their static IP address?
Right.
He said, well, it looks like we made a mistake, and we gave them the same one we assigned you. And so
that can happen?
Yeah. I mean, just like if you're on a local computer on your network, you can assign it 1.1 or 1.5, and you can give a separate IP address 1.5. I mean, you'll have conflicts. So, and they said, well, we'll give you a new IP address. Now, it's not a big deal for me. Reprogram the router, change the DNS records, no big deal. But my customer said, no, I am not changing my IP address. You're going to call whoever else has that IP address, and you're going to tell them to change their IP address. And they argued. I was on the phone listening. They argued back and forth. And finally, they said, fine, we'll contact the other company. Now, everything worked fine for a few months. The internet was still a little slow, but I said, look, you didn't change your plan. I said, 10 up, a 10 down, 1 up is kind of slow. So they called Cox and they changed the plan to, I think it was 20 down and 2 up. I'm sorry, they had 5 down, 1 up.
Right.
They went to 10 down, 2 up.
Okay.
Okay. And they said it was better. So, okay, problem solved. But they called back, I think, end of last week. And they said, we are still slow. So we called Cox again. Cox came out and they said, well, it seems to be a problem with your modem. We're going to give you a new modem.
What a disaster.
So they're looking into the modem's configuration and said, wait, the other company still is using that IP address.
Are you serious?
And they about lost it. They said this was, she kept all the conversation emails. She kept the paperwork. And he says, so you have a conflict with somebody else and you're still on a 5 down, 1 meg up plan. And she was mad. She goes, look, I have the paperwork. I'm supposed to be on 10 down, 2 up. Y'all were supposed to change that IP address month or, however long ago. Y'all don't do anything. So in the end, we had to change their IP address. And I guess they just gave them a bump up to free because when I did a test last time, they were at 20 down and 4 up.
That's surprising.
And I said, look, I tell them all the time, it's between you and your ISP, but y'all have had these issues now for 6 months. I said, if I was you, one, you got paid my time to reprogram the router. It's only an hour to reprogram a router and change DNS settings. But you've had issues for 6 months. I said, you need to call, and I know she's combative. She loves a good argument. So I knew she would want to call and argue with them. Now, I haven't heard the outcome of what she got, but I know I did a speed test. They're getting 20 down and 4 up.
Nice.
And I know they didn't pay for that.
Yep. Something happened.
So they got bumped up, and I'm sure she got quite a bit of credit.
Good.
But how many times are you going to call, internet's slow? The last thing I'm going to think is someone else has your IP address.
I agree. I mean, that's why you pay for business plan. You have your own IP, like Matt said. All ports are nice and open, and you can do whatever you want. I mean, for you to part your troubleshooting steps to see if the IP address is taken is pretty low on my list.
Yeah, it's amazing it was even found. I mean, I guess it's the last thing to check.
Yeah. I mean, well, and I have to give Cox credit. They're the ones who saw it. We were calling about the plan, and they're the ones that saw it. I'm just assuming because when I killed that SMTP, everything works fine, or the internet browsing seems to go back to normal. Of course, it might, and I have no idea how it's even working at all. Because usually if you got a conflict with somebody else, it's not going to work at all.
Right.
Right. And then, to explain to some folks how big of a pain it is to change your public IP, not really with a small little business because you could just have your router, but for larger businesses that I work that you get a pool of IP addresses. So you might get a whole block, between 3, 5, 8, 9, or whatever the case may be. Each public IP gets assigned to a different device. So imagine if I got a phone call and I got 8 devices that face the internet, and then you gotta tell me I gotta change all my IP addresses. So it can become a big pain.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Now, there's sometimes internet slow things I guess I could change their router to DHCP and see if the browsing stays good for a while. But at that point, mail's not going to work because they have the wrong IP.
Right.
So this would have been a tough one to troubleshoot because I guess once we threw a bunch of bandwidth at it, if it was still slow, we'd have to look at something else. So I'm glad Cox caught this the first time, but then they should have fixed it when they said they were going to fix it. And if they didn't fix it, they should have called the company back saying, look, they won't change or we can't change them. We're going to ask you to change.
Right.
You're telling me a cable company didn't do something they said they were going to do? Oh,
I know.
I'm so shocked.
And that's why it was so hard to troubleshoot this issue. So, thought for sure they identified the problem, they would solve it.
Right.
But, that was two, and both from Cox, two unique internet problems. Now, the first one I think was very easy to troubleshoot. The second one, a little harder because I see a lot of places who try and send too much by email. And when I tell them it's just got to clear up, 2 days later, it's fine. There's no issues. And when they find out what caused it, they're usually not against me dropping their limits a little bit so that it doesn't happen again. But this one, they had their limits down already, still seeing the issues.
Right.
So, everything worked as far as I can tell. I don't think they lost email because they're on our spam filtering. So their MX record actually pointed to our mail spam filtering server. And then our Barracuda sent it to them. Now, I didn't see any logs that showed that the connection couldn't be made. So
awesome. And a Barracuda spam filter, if you haven't used one before, you haven't been in a environment that has one, let's just say I've been part of companies that we had like high spam, that percentage really high. Like the minute I install a Barracuda, it almost goes to none.
Really?
Awesome device.
Huh.
Yeah, and a benefit of the spam filtering is now before I can set the router to only allow mail to go out from the server's IP address. When we start filtering mail for somebody, I also set the router to only allow email from the IP address of the Barracuda filtering, because that all their mail should go through there. A lot of spammers will attempt to bypass that and send mail directly to your IP address. So bypassing your MX record, they just try and see what the IP address is directly, and they try and submit directly.
Mhm.
So even with mail filtering in place, if I'm still having my mail server accept mail from any IP address, you still see spam because it bypasses the filter.
Right, and you have no idea the amount of spam that you receive until you actually look at a Barracuda like device and you log into the console. It'll show you all kind of reports and where it's coming from, and you'll be very alarmed to see the amount of spam that go through that device, and it stops.
Yeah, I'm gonna log into mine right now, and I can when I look at this, I'm amazed how much is spam. And sometimes these things are very helpful because I love it when a client calls and say their mail's not working, and when you ask why, they say because I only got 3 messages today, and I usually get a lot more.
Yes,
His popularity stats are down. That's what it is.
and
Right.
and trust me, you won't have a hard time because from what I remember, Barracuda will actually allow you to use a device for about 30 days. Just use it, install it, and configure it, and they'll help you out. And take these reports that Matt is talking about and take it to your president or the owner of the company, and pretty much they'll pay for the device almost immediately.
Nice.
Right.
Good
I have
tip.
clients, yeah, I have clients who say they're getting too much spam, that we filter their spam for them. And I'll say, okay, well, how much spam are you getting? I got 2 messages yesterday, spam. They think 2 is a lot. And when I pull up the report of how much we actually blocked for them, it might have blocked like 100, and 2 get through because the spam count is right on the edge. And they say, oh, okay, well, good. So now I'm looking at my Barracuda log right now. I've got, well, that number's a lot. I'm just going to go for the day. Just for today, we blocked 120,000 emails. Just for today. And let me see how many domains that we're actually blocking for. It's quite a few, but
It's amazing.
I'm doing it for 99 companies. I'm doing this filtering. So in 99 small businesses, we blocked today 120,000 emails.
Now, keep in mind, a number of those emails contain viruses or redirects, or, I mean, these are stuff that users will click on, and they'll never will because they never see it.
Right. And they
Right.
will click on it.
Oh, they will.
Isn't what's the stat? Like 90% of all, or 97% of like all email on the internet is spam. It's something crazy like that.
Well, I could say of the 120,000, we blocked 120,000. We allowed 23,000.
There you go.
So we're blocking 5 times more than we're
A
allowing.
big chunk of it. Because people will click on it. A quick little story. I got a phone call when I was a network admin for 3 companies ago. And a guy was whispering, and he goes, I think I won like the lottery. And I said, what? He goes, I got an
Yeah.
email saying I won $1 million. I go, no, it's fake. He's like, well, how do you know? I said, well, where did it come from? He goes, they come from Nigeria or something. I go, no, it's fake. He's like, well, how do you know? And I said, okay, what are you asking me? He's like, what if I did win the lottery and I don't respond and I lose $1 million? I said, trust me, it's fake. But this guy, he thought that he won.
Hey, most people, the first time they get that, I know a couple people, first time they get that, they question it strongly. Strongly. It's like, because it's a lot of people's dream to win the lottery, so.
Right. Well, how many times did you enter the Nigerian lottery? I mean, at what point did you enter this?
Thank you.
I would have told him, like, look, taxes in Nigeria are crazy.
Taxes
I
are crazy.
I won the lottery yesterday, and I only made like $5.
Yeah, you can tell them tax is like 120%. So whatever you won, you got to pay more in taxes.
Hey, exactly.
Yeah. So how many times do you win a lottery for something you didn't enter?
Yeah.
What are the odds?
It's great.
But yeah. So that, and I have a short one. I think I talked about this partly last show, where this client kept getting the temp files over and over again with their Trend Micro downloads.
Yes.
And I think I'm not sure how far I got on the last show, but when I called Trend Micro support, they said it's a known issue, and so they left it at that. Now, at that point, what can I do? I got to my client, it's a known issue, even though we have this loaded, 100 or 200 other locations. No one has this issue. It's a known issue. So I told the rep, I said, can you send me some documentation that it's a known issue so I can tell it to my client? Because
Right.
I don't want to just tell them that. They're going to think I'm blowing them off.
Right.
So I got him to send me some documentation that I showed to that client and said, look, it's a known issue. The engineers are working on it. But, I thought this can't be, I can't leave it at this because it's not what's going on. So I tried to download something, just a large, about a 300 meg file. Tried to download it to see if I could download other large files, and it timed out too. I put something on my FTP server, which I know is a good connection, try and download it, it times out. I said, okay, something's wrong with this internet connection then. This is the company where I did a speed test. They got 0.94 down and 0.11 up.
Damn, they're
Crazy.
flying.
Man.
They could do
Yeah.
full video podcasting with that.
So I told them, they say it's a known issue, and it may be a known issue, but this is compounded by your slow internet connection. I said, have y'all noticed the internet being slow? I said, oh yeah, it's always slow. I said, well, you might need to look at increasing your bandwidth then. In today's environment, this is not acceptable. I would think.
They
You
weren't
know,
on
you're-
dial-up, were they?
No, they're on DSL
Yeah.
for some reason. I say, you can switch to coax in this area, you can switch to fiber, but you need to do something because I don't know how y'all work like this, but this is an issue. And they agreed it's been an issue and they're going to address it. But I said, you get a fast connection, this known issue may go away. So I'm not going to log into the server every 3 days and delete log files or temp files. So I just created a basic little script to stop the Trend Micro service, delete temp files from that directory, start the Trend Micro service again, and just set it to run every day like at 3 a.m. I told them it's not a good solution, but until either your internet connection is increased or the known issue is resolved,
It's a patch.
it's a patch to not let your server fill up. So I didn't like it. I don't like that, leaving it like that, because I know it's not a known issue.
Yeah.
But, arguing with the Trend Micro engineer wasn't going to get me anywhere.
Right.
They said, look, we can't do anything. So what can I do? I had to leave it. Now this last story really gets my goat, as they say.
Yes.
Who said that?
People with goats. We have them stolen. Okay. So I had a client order, it's only a 3-computer network and they have a server. And they ordered 3 new computers. Great. Went out to install the 3 new computers. Did I talk about this already? Or was this pre-show or something?
I think it was pre-show. I'm trying to
Okay.
think the same thing. Yes.
Okay. So I get out there and their server is ridiculous. I think I've only been there twice before and it was like 6-7 months. And I looked at my notes and I found that I advised them that their server needed to be updated. It was a basic server, entry-level server. And I told them it needs these updates to run the new software that you want to run. And they said, how much? I gave them a quote. And they said, well, can we just get rid of the server? I said, oh,
That's like Matt's like,
Yes.
no.
you can get rid of the server. For what it realistically, I would not have even put a server in their environment because they weren't doing anything but using Peachtree.
And what
They
about
didn't-
expansion?
Well, I don't. I would have talked to them about that, but they said they've had this server for 4 or 5 years, and they've always only had 3 computers.
Yeah.
So I don't
And they're
think they were.
downsizing.
I don't think that they were expanding, but they had it, and I would rather keep it because if you do have it, it'd be nice to use the features. But they wanted to get rid of it, and I can tell you why they wanted to get rid of it. It's because it wasn't set up correctly when it was first installed, and this was somebody else we took over after this company installed this server. They had a small business server. They were not using Exchange. They were not using Remote Web Workplace, Outlook Web Access. They weren't using any of the functions, which is a selling point for small business server. In fact, when they were logging into their computers, they were still logging in locally, not even authenticating to the domain.
So what were they using it for? A file server?
A file server, but when they wanted to access the shares, they had to log in because they never authenticated to the server.
That's lame.
And they thought it was annoying. And I said, yes, if it's not set up correctly, it can be very annoying. I said, why don't we just set it up correctly so you can use it the way it's supposed to be set up? But they've been working with this so aggravated. In their mind, they thought things worked much better without a server. So they were sold. They said, nope, we have to get away with the server, get away from it. It's causing issues. We don't want it.
It's the scourge of the company.
Yeah, right. It's holding them down from their expansion.
The
This
only
is why we
thing,
still only have 3 computers.
the only thing that could be worse for Matt if they all had Android phones. Then it would be all hell broken loose.
Totally.
Uh,
Hell for
I
Matt.
set up a Droid phone for somebody today.
Oh.
No wonder you're in such a foul mood. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'll talk about that in a minute. That's a funny story too, because the girl is her first Droid too. But anyway, so I set them up on a peer-to-peer. We copied the data off. We moved it to one computer. They weren't sharing any data. They weren't sharing documents. The only thing I had to do was share a directory for Peachtree. Very easy to get off of it. Wasn't a big deal. But had this server been set up correctly, they were still using AOL email accounts.
I was going to ask you what they're using for email.
Right. Still using AOL. If I'm putting an Exchange server, I am going to get them a domain name and get them using it. Because once they're using it, and once they use remote web workplace, because she connects a lot from home, but she was doing it through RDP direct to her computer. Once they use this stuff, they like it, and they won't want to go away from it.
Right. It's too late.
Hey, Matt, for those that have no idea what that is, what is remote web workplace?
Okay, so that's a website. When you have a domain name, we link it to your domain name. So from any computer on the internet running the Internet Explorer, of course, because it's an ActiveX control, let's say go to remote.yourdomainname.com. Okay. You get to a login page, which is this web page actually hosted on your server. You log in using your domain, username, and password, and from there you can do different things. You can access the, maybe local web page for the company. You can connect to any computers on the network that you have rights to. You can access your email through a web interface. So it's just anywhere to work remotely. It's remote web workplace. It's just a common one interface to do all the things that you want to do remotely. Now, they also have Outlook Web Access, which is just direct to your email. So when you're using Exchange and you have Outlook on your computer, whatever is in Outlook will be in Outlook Web Access. Now, it's not as good as the full Outlook client, but you still can get to everything you need to get to, all your mails there.
Sounds handy.
All your contacts. It's very handy.
Oh, sure. And it's handy because you can get to it from any PC. It goes over port 443, so it's secure, and it's an easy way. A lot of times when folks travel, if you work for a business that folks travel a lot or they're a salesman, it's pretty cool.
Right. And, for salesmen, a lot of times, if we just use Outlook anywhere. So you can open up Outlook across the internet. It connects to the Exchange server, and you get in that way. So sometimes you don't even need to use Remote Web Workplace. You just open up Outlook and log in, and you're connected. But they weren't using any of these things. And I showed her at that point, before she got rid of it, I showed her what it could do. I said, we just need to set it up correctly. She really, really liked that stuff, but she couldn't get over the problems they had
Right.
from this being put in incorrectly.
That's a shame.
So we had to go off of it.
That's
Now,
what they
this-
deserve for having AOL email addresses. Sorry.
It is. It is. I agree. I totally agree. You know, so I set up a home group for
Mhm.
them on Windows 7. And I don't. Have you ever done it before, Steve or Lalo? A home group?
Yeah.
You know, I liked it. It was kind of nice for small businesses, or for, not that I would ever recommend it, but
Thank you.
if they don't want a server and I have to share something, the home group actually wasn't a bad way to go. You know, all I had to do was share a directory for Peachtree, worked fine. But this is going to be a good test. I told her your administration costs could go up because now, you know, we don't have centralized administration. We don't
Exactly.
have. So we did this at the beginning of the year. So I know how often they called me last year. And I can compare that to how often they call me this year just to see if they call me more or less, about the same. I just want to know personally.
All right.
You know, it's a small company. They don't have that many needs, but when they did have needs before, I could easily get into the server and check it out.
Exactly. And in the domain environment, what's nice, what Matt's saying, is centralized. So as long as you log in, your token or your user account allows you to get to the shares to anywhere on the network. But when you have everybody in a home group, now you have to worry about 3, 4, however many PCs you have, times that, times individual accounts, and it becomes a administrative nightmare.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but you know, and I think with the home group though, I think it's much better than peer-to-peer for Windows XP, because Windows XP you had to maintain the same username and passwords for all the computers.
Right.
But I think I noticed when I was setting this home group up, it actually creates a home group user account. So that's what actually talks, I think, between all the other computers. So I'm pretty sure I could change my password on one, because I didn't create accounts anywhere. When you join the home group, it creates a system account, I believe, and that's what talks to the other shares.
Okay.
So I think it's actually pretty good. I like the way Windows 7 handles that, but I still think they may have more administration cost. You know, but you know, I did set up remote log me in. We have the paid log me in service, so I can create unattended access on these things, or I could just use our log me in rescue to connect and do what I want to do. Now, one thing I did do was set up RDP access. So in the router, I changed one listening port to 3390. You know, by default, if you RDP to a machine, it's port 3389. So normally we have 3389 going to the server for us to get into. So this one I had to set her main computer, left it on 3389. On another computer she wanted to access remotely, I had to, you know, give it a reservation. Actually, in this case, a static IP, because the router couldn't do reservations because I have no server anymore. So give it a static IP address, change listening port, and the router I can redirect that port. So I told her you can remote desktop into this IP address to get to this computer, this IP address :3390 for this computer. You know, let her know it's not that, you know, it does have some encryption in the RDP protocol, but their router didn't support VPN connect. It wasn't a VPN endpoint, so I couldn't do any kind of VPN that I wanted to do in there, because they still just have a basic home $49 router.
Right. Hey, Matt, how do you change that port on that local, the PC, so it's not going to listen to port 3389?
It's a registry entry
Yep.
that you use.
Right.
And the one thing that's important to know, though, when you change that registry entry in the Windows firewall, you can tell it to allow remote desktop connections. Okay, but that's on 3389.
Right.
Even if you change the listening port to 3390, you still have to go allow that in the firewall, because it's just by allowing remote desktop in the firewall is not going to allow port 3390 if you change the port to 3390.
Right.
So you
and,
still have to go change that.
And you can tell by going to the command prompt. I think it's netstat-a. I think that's the correct the command, but that command will show you all of the listening ports on a local PC. So once you make the registry change, that's how you can verify what port is listening. Again, we keep talking about ports. It's very important to know your ports.
Yep. Now, the RDP access, the Windows 7 remote desktop protocol port, again, it's not super secure, but the new RDP client is more secure than older clients. So if you're going to be using this, make sure that you have the latest RDP client. And it's actually options on the computer itself that you're connecting to only allow connections from secure, I forget what it's called, but there's a way you can basically allow only secure settings.
Right. And
which is the latest RDP. It says, I'm looking at my Windows 7, click an option and then specify who can connect if needed. Allow connections from computer running any version of remote desktop less secure. Allow connections only from computers running remote desktop with network level authentication more secure.
Right.
So you can check that, but that means only people using the latest version of remote desktop are going to be able to connect.
Right, and I think the latest for XP is 6.0, I think, and you have to download that and install that on your XP bots. So.
Now, yeah, we use RDP a lot for our customers. We do have Log Me In Rescue, which we pay for, so we can do unattended access for those as well. But just a quick get in, we usually use RDP. But they're on a work group, and we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
Now, she wanted to use her server, and see, right away after getting off her server, she says, "What can we use the server for?" I said, "A server?" That's what I said.
A gaming machine.
A gaming machine.
So they wanted, she didn't want to spend the few $100s to upgrade the server to keep it using it as a server, but she was willing to spend the same money to try and load Windows XP on it, and use it as a spare workstation, which I did not understand.
That's amazing.
But it's a entry level server. There was no drivers for XP. The only drivers available were Server 03. There was no drivers, and I said, "Look, I'm sorry." She wanted to put Windows 7 on it to match the other computers. There was only drivers for Server 03, nothing for Server 08, nothing for anything else. I said, "I can try it, but the only way to try it is to do it, and you got to pay for that." So she said, "No, never mind. We won't need it. Maybe I'll just buy another computer." And buying another computer for a spare workstation with more than it was going to cost to get the server back up to where it needed to be.
Yeah.
But it's just in their head,
Yeah.
So if you set up a server wrong, you're really going to sour them from a server later on.
That's a good tip. Something good to put out there.
So in her life, she will tell her friends and her other people she runs into, "Oh, you don't want a server. Those are terrible." And that's what she's going to tell people. She says now they're working great, but they're working great because of Windows 7.
Right.
The computers they had before were like 7 years old, 256 megs of RAM running Windows XP. I mean, I told them you need new computers. So unfortunately, we got the new computers at the same time we got rid of the server. So she attributes all the benefits to the server being gone, not the new
Maybe
computers.
someday down the road she'll change her ways, but she's happy for now. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, she's happy. I got to do a home group, which in my line of work I don't get to do often, so that was nice to try.
Cool.
Yeah, a Droid phone. I got a call from somebody today. It's, "How do I set up mail on this Droid phone?" I said, "Well, you just gotta. Here's the information. You just gotta put it in." She could not put it in. She goes, in her words, not mine, "Oh, why didn't they just get an iPhone?"
She should have.
Well, this is for.
She should have got an iPhone.
Well, this is for when this is a girl, the point of contact, that she could do basic things. So she knows how to set up iPhones.
Oh.
So they go to her, and she could not do it. She could not do it. She finally called me and was complaining. These are ridiculous. These are ridiculous.
Good. Let the iPhones be for the general. I prefer being the elite.
So I walked her through it. I found a little step-by-step guide online with a quick Google search, told her what to put in, and she said it worked fine. So I'm gonna play with the droids, but I'm gonna wait to do it on a tablet.
Now,
Yeah.
now to counteract Matt's story, I set up a Droid with an interchange account 2 days ago, and that worked fine.
How long did it take?
About 48 seconds.
See, the iPhone I can do in 15.
Touche.
But now that I've done a couple, so now that I know, the downfalls, you got to check SSL because we use SSL for all of email. You got to, for me, I don't know why, you got to put the domain name in uppercase. You got to check SSL. She wasn't checking SSL, which was her problem.
See, the problem that I experienced it with Droids, but I haven't played with iPhones much, so I can't compare. But some folks put in the domain name in the wrong field, and but for me, I don't have to do it uppercase, so I haven't run across that problem yet. But I find a lot of folks don't put the domain name in the appropriate place.
Is it labeled as appropriate or no? It's confusing.
Well, okay.
It says username, right? You got to put domain / username.
Like, for example, if my domain is, Duke and Rotzi.local is my local, the network, so I authenticate Lalo at Duke and Rotzi.local, but my domain name is podnutzisgreat.com. Well, your authentication is Lalo at Duke and Rotzi.local, but your email, so a lot of people get those two fields. They're confused, to make a long story short.
I understand.
Right. Windows 7, when you log in, you got to put domain name /user. So it's the same format.
Right.
That you've got to do that with the Droid. Now the iPhone is just a little different. It asks for a domain field and a username, so they're separate fields. Whereas at least the Droid that I've done is the same field, so you got to put domain /username. Just a different way to do it, but it's doing the same thing. So, I think Honeycomb will be nice, and I was looking forward to getting the Zoom, but I don't know if I can do that now with their pricing.
Yeah. It's 800. What is it? 600 with some kind of plan?
Yeah, 2-year contract.
600 with a 2-year contract.
They were saying $600 for the Wi-Fi only without a contract, which is fine. I just want the Wi-Fi only.
It's 800, right?
Well, see, I don't know. I've heard 800 was the 3G version. I don't know. They need to announce it formally when it goes up for sale. But, I'd like to get a Droid tablet just to know how to use it.
Get the Tab, Galaxy Tab. It's so nice.
Well, they're coming with a new one for that. So you write an 8-inch or 7.9?
I think it's a 10-inch they're coming out with. It's already a 7, and they're trying to. I guess 10-inch. Hey, because since 10-inch is the iPad form factor, everybody is making a 10-inch to compete. But I like the 7. The 10-inch for my use on an iPad is too heavy, too unwieldy. 7 is sweet spot.
Hey, Steve, I've never heard you talk about this Galaxy Tab. Can you please tell me
Shut up.
Now, is that okay? Was that gonna what OS is that gonna run?
They say it was rumored you need a dual-core processor to run Honeycomb, but that's BS. Let's see what the new Tab runs. I'm sure it's going to be Honeycomb.
Okay.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I don't care really which one it is. I mean, I just want something running the latest OS so I can play with it.
Yeah.
And I'd probably pick up, and I want to get one of those WebOS tablets too.
Yeah, get me one while you're at it, would you? And for Lalo, too.
Yeah, please.
Okay, just let me know how many I need to get.
Okay. Yeah, let us know when you're going to the store.
It's a business expense. I've got to learn how to use it.
Should we do email?
I try not to let my negative feelings for any device be known when a customer calls me.
Yeah, no, we got you.
Although this girl I knew pretty good. I know her very well, and when she complained about it, I kind of chirped in a little bit too.
That's okay. Should we do some emails?
Yeah.
Sure. We got 2 emails. This one, it's not really pro related, but these guys want to, since he knows you're smart, he's going to try to pick your brain on this. It's from Bob. He says, well, Steve, would yourself, Lalo, or Matt have the answer for the following network problem I have? I'm trying to run my Linksys router as my main router and my Verizon Fios router as a bridge router that would allow me to keep my video on demand and the TV guide. I found something on the internet, but the on-demand TV and the TV guide would not work after performing that fix, which will not work for me. Any ideas? Also, the Verizon Fios router is an all-in-one, meaning it sends data for the TV service to set up the boxes and sends the data for the internet. I hope I covered all the info. You may need to help. If you have any step-by-step instructions, that would be great. Thanks. It's a Fios router action tech. Any ideas? It's not pro related, Bob. I'm a little reluctant to read this, but we'll see if the guys can help you with this. Any ideas for Bob?
So is he doing double NAT on those, or is
That's why I was
is he
thinking.
creating more than one network?
I don't know.
Because I don't have Verizon, but I know friends who do have Verizons, and they told me their top boxes all have IP addresses. So I wonder if you have.
What?
The hamster's going.
I don't know either.
I mean, usually if you put something in, I mean, usually I'm coming at this from the Apple standpoint, because my bridge devices don't create separate networks. When I put them in bridge, it just extends it.
Right.
So I'm wondering if some devices, if you can bridge it but create a separate network, where one network's, let's say 1.2 and one might be 2.5 or something. So yeah, I mean, I would need to know more about the setup. I mean, what the Fios router is? Are you using those? Anybody? Like, what is it doing? It's getting TV through that.
I have a
No.
Fios router, but I don't get TV. It's just the internet.
Yeah, and I have a different ISP here that handles it a little bit differently.
So it sounded like he was using that Fios router for something specific, like some capability that it had directly. He had to use it for.
Yeah, like the TV guide and the TV video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I would look into if it's doing a double NAT. Other than that, probably need a lot more information on that.
All right. Well,
Sorry.
sorry, Bob. Next one's from 5150. It's a long one. Get ready. The question is directed to Podnutz Pro. After you completed a fresh server install, enterprise, small business server, maybe even Windows Home Server, besides installing anti-malware tools, what other configuration steps need to be taken to lock down the system before exposing it to the network? I understand not to install services that will not be necessary for the designated task of the server, but a checklist of all the relevant options presented by the installation and why or why not to install them may be helpful to those moving into the enterprise market. I think you covered some of this in the Anatomy of a Server episode. If you feel comfortable addressing Linux or Mac servers, you could address security issues on those platforms as well as time allows. Beyond not installing unneeded services, are there security issues in the various versions of Windows Server that should be immediately addressed? And can you walk the listeners through the configuration steps? Any such steps would, of course, be different for a server that faces the internet as opposed to one used only on the organization's LAN. It also seems that many enterprise vendors are not as security conscious, especially in educational apps, as common sense would dictate, and use web-centric development tools requiring the installation of insecure helper apps such as Flash and Java on the server as part of the server-side installation process, though you might also be surprised how many Fox Pro-based applications are still creaking along on the education sector. How do you like to configure Windows updates on the server? I know large enterprises with a full-time IT staff often maintain a parallel server just to test updates against mission-critical applications before deploying Windows updates to the production server. This, of course, is not possible for independent tech support, but many vendors were not prepared for the rollout of Server 2008 Vista for all practical purposes. I've seen conflicts between security updates and applications. One major backup solution vendor in particular send a server into a repeating blue screen of death, and Microsoft still seems to catch software vendors unawares from time to time.
Steve, brief for a second.
Okay. He's got a completely different topic for the next paragraph, so let's just cover that for the first one.
Okay. I will tell you, in my experience, you're concerned with what ports are exposed out to the web and what services that you're running. If you're running IIS, SQL, because certain people on the opposite end can exploit your server depending what your patch level is, which is your Windows updates, and what a service pack that you're running. And I just drew a blank for some reason. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, those questions really, to answer those would take a few shows. There's no quick answers for that.
This might be, I had an idea. He probably wrote this as an idea for maybe some future topics. So.
Yeah. You need to send me that email because I do want to cover those in future shows.
Sure.
But you know, the most important thing I think is you need a good router to protect your network, like we talked about, I think in the first show. That's important. Other than that, you know, weak passwords, have a good password policy, before you deploy, make sure you have all your Windows updates,
I agree.
you know, but there's so many different things, and it's Windows. I mean, you're gonna have vulnerabilities, um, and sometimes you need Flash or Java to run something, So yeah, that's a whole few shows.
Yeah, and and what Matt is saying too, it all depends on what your type of network that you're running, because you could put a bunch of different devices in between all that in the outside world, Cisco stuff, a whole bunch of different devices. As far as the Windows updates, you are correct. In a large environment where I work at, we have a separate test bed that we apply our updates. If you have a small business, you don't have the time or manpower to do it. But it can bite you. I was part of a small business before, about 150 users, where Update Tuesday that came out, then that Wednesday, no one can get to their Outlook web access. After doing some digging, Microsoft pushed out an update that killed the Outlook web access that they fixed the following day. But that's just the price you pay if you have small manpower, I guess.
I guess
Yeah.
so.
For server, by default, the servers, and at least I know Server 8 by default is set to download and not install. So unless you change it on '08 servers, by default, it won't install automatically on servers. Workstations, I'll let those install automatically. Servers, I leave it. I let it download it, but I don't let it install automatically.
Now, Matt, in a small business environment, do you ever set up NWSUS at all?
It's there by default in Server '08 Small Business Server,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really like it. I mean, I think we're gonna start using it more. I think the next version is gonna be better.
Okay.
It's just one, it takes up a lot of disk space.
No, it does. What WSUS is, for those that might not know, instead of your workstations going out to the web for updates, your server will download all of the updates, which Matt is saying will take up a lot of disk space. Then your clients point to the server, and that's how it gets all of the updates. Now, what's nice about it with the WSUS, you can approve or deny any particular updates. So that's the main function behind it. It gets a little bit more complicated, but that's a brief overview.
Yeah. Now, because it's not like I've got 50 clients and they all need, 80 updates. So you're talking about when a patch might be a few updates. Most of our clients have plenty bandwidth to download. If I got 20 or 30 computers, it's going to pull down at 3 a.m. No one's even going to notice. It's going to pull it and download and install it.
Right. That's why I was just curious and for your clients and what you did, because I assume that you don't have, that large amount of people in one small company.
No. Yeah, it's not usually an issue. I mean, I can see if you, had 500 computers, you definitely wouldn't want all 500. Plus, you'd want a central console but like I have clients emailing me asking me, should we install this Windows Server update that just came out, like yesterday, or Windows 7 Service Pack 1. Those kind of things I wait. Major updates, I wait a little while. I don't install updates on servers right when it comes out. I'll wait a few weeks and then read about it online, how many people are having issues with it.
Exactly, because with updates, if something breaks, pretty much you'll see it on the tech sites pretty quickly if an update breaks.
Yeah. Clients, I don't care. They break, we'll redo it. Servers, I don't want to redo servers.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and do those. And and a lot of those we do scheduled. If I'll connect to a server and I'll see 30 updates need to be installed. I'll look at them, see what they are. If they're old updates and I haven't heard of any issues with updates, I'll schedule that with a client. Let them know, look, we need to get you back up all these security patches. When do you want to do it? It's going to take a reboot. So we schedule that with them. Plus, they know that you're checking on the server.
Yes, And also, there's a tool from Microsoft called Microsoft Security Analyzer, and I forget what it's called, but like the chat room will probably correct the name for me. But what it does is that you run this tool, and it tells you what updates that you're missing, and it shows you it shows you possible security risks. So even if you don't know exactly what you need to do, it kind of shows you what you could address. Now again, you have to know your network and know your server, but at least this tool will show you in what state your server is in.
They say it's MBSA.
MBSA. See, I was close.
You were right. The chat room would get it.
They are the bomb.
All right. Any more on this, or shall we read the second half?
Yeah, let's go to the second half.
But thanks so far, 5150. I know I sped through that, but those are good ideas maybe for future shows too. He says on a completely different topic, I bought a used HP DL380 G3 from Pacific Geek with dual-core P4 class Xeons. I learned from your anatomy episode that each processor has a discrete memory bank. The hardware is identified as 32-bit, so how can each processor address more than 4 gigs? Is this a function unique to the Xeon? I'm going to install Linux Server OS, but since the server has more processing capacity than any of my desktops, I'd like to do video processing in a media-centric distro running in a VM. Can you tell me if media applications designed for multi-core processors will recognize the 2 discrete CPUs, and will most VMs make both processors available, i.e. would a distro and a VM only see a system as a single P4? In other words, would a multimedia editor have to be installed on the bare metal OS to take advantage of the system resources? Would the system require a physical sound card to process the audio in a VM? The only option for a PCIX system seems to be a USB sound card. I would be accessing the VM remotely from a workstation with a sound card so I could hear the output. I understand this last batch of inquiries may be out of the scope of your normal enterprise's support, but maybe another listener may have the answer. I bet Dor would know. Thanks. Sorry for the length of the questions, but I am not known for being concise. 5150. Yeah, I'm going to also ask that, 5150, the second part anyway, on Linux for the rest of us, because I think that Dor might know some of that. But what do you guys think?
Well, first of all, I need a drink because I was dreaming a long email. But man,
you need a drink. I read it.
You are hardcore, man.
Thanks.
5150.
Okay, so the memory thing, that's specific. I think when we did that anatomy, that particular server and that chipset and processor, they had different memory banks per processor. So that's not every processor or motherboard is going to have that. Some might have bank 1, bank 0, bank 1, but this one had bank 0, bank 1 for processor 1, bank 0, bank 1 for processor 2.
Okay.
So that's not going to be every server. Usually on these servers, just check the documentation and see how they want the memory installed. So that's not going to be everybody. Not everybody has that.
Okay.
As far as I'm looking at the question again, and I don't do a lot with virtual machines. I mean, we have some virtual servers, but that's hard, that's running on the server, on the hardware directly, like Linux virtual machines. So Dor might be better to answer those VM questions.
They seem like up Dor's alley.
Yeah. We're moving toward, we have a lot of virtual servers running, but that's specialized stuff.
No worries.
I'm just looking at the question, but yeah, I think Dor would be good to ask that.
All right. Anything else we need to cover before we end off, Matt? Lalo?
Nope, not for me.
Okay, Matt, where could people find out more about you if they would like to do so?
Well, they wanted to. They could look at my website. It's www.ah-computers.com. That's just our business website. They can email me at matt@podnutz.com or on Twitter, Podnutz Pro, which I always forget about.
Twitter?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I know you forget about Podnutz Pro, not about Twitter.
No, Twitter.
How about you, Lalo?
All right, in the Podnutz forums, I am Lalo, all one word. On Twitter, I'm LaloNunez.com, DOTCOM, www.betterpctech.com. Thank you for all you guys getting with the videos. I'm pushing out an update to the videos because one of the applications that we use, they decided to change how it works. So I will update that and push that out this weekend. And again, just, keep the emails coming, especially if you have any questions. Some of the stuff me and Matt have seen before. If we can't answer it, I'll make my full attempt, or will make a full attempt to answer the question for you.
Hey, can you tell us again what BetterPCTech.com is, in
Yes.
case people have not bought it?
It is a collection of tools that will help you automate tasks. I'll show you other different ways to do tasks a lot quicker, faster, and smoother, so you can spend more time with your kids and your wife, or with the girlfriend, or if you're a girl.
What about your pets?
Or the pets. If you have dogs that want to be walked, now you can walk them. But I go over a quicker ways to do owner's updates to find drivers. It pretty much will make your life a lot easier. There's a money back guarantee. If you don't like it, just ask for your money back. I won't get offended. I'll just give it back to you and never talk to you again. No, I'm playing. But let you know. But hey, I've been fortunate. The one thing that I would say is I've been fortunate to work with people that I've had as mentors to show me a lot of information. You all know who you are, and it's just my way of giving back to the community.
Awesome.
Oh, you know what? So I got one more thing.
Yes, sir.
We do have the home computer division, which I'm not even promoting that yet. Homecomputerexperts.com, as if people want to look at that as well. That is, I haven't promoted that for a specific reason, which I might cover in the next few months, but that's our home user division.
I love the teasers he drops every single show.
I
You ever
know.
notice? He drops like a liner. I'm like, yeah, but I'll get to that in the near
Yeah,
future.
but that's a scary teaser. You're like, we offer a service, but I'm not telling you why. We're not promoting it.
Yeah, well, I don't promote it, but we do have it, and we do have business from it, just from word of mouth. But
Yeah.
I haven't promoted that to the general public because, well, you'll see.
Okay. So that gives me confidence to call.
But if you want to, no. But if I'm saying, if anybody wants to look at the site,
Oh, just to look at the site. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
haven't promoted that in my local area yet.
Oh, I get you.
But we do work for that all the time. But just word of mouth though.
Sounds good.
That's pretty much all we can handle right now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, call them if you dare.
Call them.
You guys may have noticed, Podnutz is going through a couple changes. We do live video on the Podnutz TV channel. It's podnutz.tv. If you guys want to watch, say you wanted to watch Podnutz Pro, but you're on the other side of the earth, or you just missed it, you're walking your dogs or something, you could tune in podnutz.tv. I'm going to just shoot like 10 reruns through over and over and over again for the whole week. So if you miss any of the shows, you could watch them there. And then when we do a live show, it will appear there as well. So just go to Podnutz TV for all your Podnutz video needs. Okay, that's the new thing we're launching. Okay, listen. This is really simple. If the show's live, you will not see the red pre-recorded lettering in the corner of the screen. If it's a recording, it will say pre-recorded in the corner of your screen. So pre-recorded, not live. No pre-recorded. We're live. Just in case that was confusing for anybody. Okay, that is going to be it for Podnutz Pro for this week. We're going to see you guys next time. Adios. Okay. Sorry for being jerky about the whole pre-recorded thing, but I didn't know how to break it down any easier.
I was going to ask you to clarify after you said that.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like I explained it quite well.
I was gonna say, I want to put the graphic up there.
Because it has a live graphic.
Wait, it does?
It does. That's what's confusing. It comes up live and then pre-recorded is right under it. So, the longer the channel's up, you guys will figure it out. Wilderbear goes, "Is this live?"
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But not pre-recorded or pre-recorded. Make it more confusing.
I'm really gonna mess with people. I'm gonna put a pre-recorded logo up right now. It's pre-recorded. Can't you see?
Yeah. Or
we're not live.
Or I was watching Twit before Podnutz TV came up, but there's like a month ago, and when Leo was on vacation or something like that, these people record like 8 shows in a row, but they changed the date on the bottom, and I was totally confused because it was like,
oh, the Gizwiz.
Yeah, because it was like the 11th and it said the 18th, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was
it is a little confusing, but
So we should do a show and put December 12th, 2011. Just freak everybody out. What the hell is going on?
that's right. In the future.
There is Windows 7 Service Pack 2. Download it. What?
That's right. We should do a whole fake show into the future. That would be awesome. That's a great idea, Lalo. No, what I want to say about Podnutz TV? A couple other things. Oh, I should have mentioned that ad that you see when you boot it up every single time is not mine. I do not make a dime from that. I do not put that there. I don't like that. But Justin.tv is letting me broadcast for free. They have to make their money somehow. I can't really criticize them. They've been really awesome as far as quality and dependability. To me, it's between Ustream, it's night and day. Justin TV rocks. So I do hope that they got my email on revenue sharing, which I haven't got an answer to. And I accidentally erased an episode of Android App Addicts, and I emailed them, and they didn't answer me for that. So they suck at answering emails. But other than that, they're a great service. Got to give them that.
Because Justin is busy.
Justin's the only one there. Yeah. But I hope you guys are liking the Podnutz.tv. And give me some feedback on the channel page, because right now, the reason it's all black with nothing else on there but the TV is because I just haven't gotten to that point yet. But Lalo says keep it that way. So I don't know.
I like it.
I think it's pretty badass.
Because before, you had a wooden frame and...
It wasn't wood.
Whatever, but it kind of looked like a picture frame to me, to be honest. Like a picture. I was like,
yeah,
there's Steve.
You're right. I changed it.
I'm just saying.
It was a Samsung TV, though, by the way, that I turned green. And it just didn't come out that good. You're right.
I actually went to computer say I'm looking for a green Samsung. But
I saw a Podnutz TV. I want that one. You want to have one made out of wood? Yeah.
Okay, I have one gripe that has nothing to do with technology.
And it better not have anything to do with the Waffle House.
Or maybe it does. No. No, I said stop.
A gripe. I mean, that rules out Waffle House.
That's
Yes.
right. They do no wrong.
Thank you, Matt, for being the smart one in this group. All right, when I go to the ATM, right, and when I drive up to the ATM, I know how much money I'm going to take out, right? I have people time me. I'm in and out within maybe 40 seconds. I'm like a ninja. I mean, if there was an Olympics for ATM, I'll have the gold medal, right? This guy in front of me for 4 minutes, and I see his finger, he's doing one of these, talking to his wife. And I'm like, dude, just get your money and get out. So now that he put his card in, he takes it right back out and puts it back in.
Oh, man.
4.5 minutes at an ATM.
I would have punched him.
Mr. Ford Explorer, what is wrong with you?
The problem is he had no money in his account.
No, seriously, it's an ATM. You should know before you even enter the bank what you need to do. I'm just saying, just be respectful.
That's a Nuts at Night theme, definitely. Or tidbit.
Wait, was he in the car by himself? Or he was talking to somebody else? You said he was.
There was another body like in the car. I don't know if it was a balloon.
Alive?
I have no idea.
See, this could have been a man and his wife. The woman says, "Hey, pull into the ATM." He pulls in the ATM's like, "What for?" And she's like, "Well, we need this, we need this, we need this." He might be saying, "Would you just tell me how much?" And she's saying, "Well, I'm not sure yet. Let me check the checkbook." And she's checking this, and he's getting frustrated.
Touche. Okay.
I would, but seriously, Lalo, I would have a fit if I was behind them. I don't know
I'm
what I
totally
would do.
impatient. Or, well, hey, look, I have Friday off. I'll probably be not tonight, tomorrow, if you will allow me. I got plenty of stuff. I have a McDonald's guy that pissed me off.
Ooh, I have a Best Buy guy that pissed me off. Yeah, come on the show tomorrow. You want to?
Cool.
Hey, Steve, I try and stay up for that Podnutz at whatever time it is. I just fall asleep every time.
What, the one we did yesterday?
Yeah, but you know what? Of course, this is when I only got like 6 hours of sleep in the past 2.5 days. So I did fall asleep.
No, that's cool. The reason we had it that late actually was so Chris could make it from Canada. But we're probably, when he's not on the show, we're probably going to make it around 10.
I thought it was for Steve and all of his problems.
They are 24/7. You kidding me?
I will tell you, I thought it was hilarious because I was watching it, and Steve goes, "Hey, by the way, my office 15 minutes away has awesome bandwidth."
Right.
That was the worst. The whole show, Steve's like, "I don't know what's wrong with my connection. It's got to be out in the street. I called the cable company, blah, blah, blah." He's got all these quote solutions, nothing working, the headset's not working, no video. And he's like, oh man, I gotta get this fixed. I mean, in his credit, he did buy a whole new headset to use, not working. And at the very end of the show, 20 minutes after the show's over, he says, oh, Dor, before you go, I got a kick butt internet connection at my office. And I'm like, where's your office? Oh, like, it's like 10, 15 minutes away.
Ugh.
Now, the best, you missed on Last Nuts at Night. I got really upset. William brought up this little device on his TV for his TV, a little remote control infrared thing. And while he was talking about it, I looked on Amazon, and I was just checking out the reviews, and I told William, like on the show, after he's talking about it, I go, man, this was a great purchase, and you knew the product was going to be good because there was like 700 reviews, positive reviews, and the thing got like 4.5 stars. So if you got like 700 reviews and 4.5 stars, that's a good average. You know you're buying a good product.
Right.
Not 2 seconds later, Steve D comes on. He goes, and you know what else? It's got really good reviews on Amazon. And I go, how do you know that? He's like, I go, it has good reviews on Amazon? He goes, yeah. I go, well, how do you know? He goes, well, I've looked at that before. I go, you didn't hear me say that 2 seconds ago? He's like, oh, sorry. My headset was messed up.
All I gotta say is that I'm in fear of getting on Android app addicts because, man, you are vicious, dude. I'm gonna tell you.
No, that was a rough night. I'm not always. Oh, you mean when somebody brings up a duplicate app?
Help your soul. If the app even starts with the same letter, you will be banned from Podnutz forever. I'm telling you.
My days of doing that are over. I've been humiliated, dragged through the mud, egg in my face. I'm silent now. I will be silent.
I feel bad for Timster, all people, because you look at his video feed, it's like a man that got defeated. Like every time a duplicate app gets mentioned.
He doesn't feel defeated. He just gets angry at me.
Timster's the man.
Yeah.
The man. And I'll tell you, I sent the message to the William. That dude is hilarious. He has me cracking up.
Yeah.
So
William
keep
is
doing
a trip.
shows.
William is a trip. These are great plugs for Podnutz at Night.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't catch that one that often because that's kind of late too, isn't it?
But you can catch it on podnuts.tv.
And how could you miss it?
24/7, man.
It loops.
And also,
you will be sick of it.
Also, if you hit the button on the bottom of the page, it's actually all translated in Spanish, believe it or not.
With subtitles.
I tried to watch it on the TV, but I got confused if it was live or recorded.
It's actually it's pre-recorded right now. If you go there.
I tried to join the chat and I couldn't join the chat. And I didn't know what was going on.
That's a good one.
Dear Steve, you're awesome for doing shows at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I do like the new Podnutz shows, though, the way that format is. I do like that, too.
Oh, yeah, I do, too. I mean, it was just tough being out of the computer repair business and finding experts in the field that I thought were relevant. So, let's see how this goes. People did think Chris was being a little harsh on Steve D. They basically got in a fight on the show. So
that was the one yesterday?
No, 2 weeks ago. But the thing is, what people don't realize is they have a lot of history of the back and forth. Almost every Nuts at Night post show, those guys are going at it. So it's like that. They're friends. This was not like a random just encounter of like.
No.
That was a QuickBooks, FreshBooks discussion.
Yes.
Yes, I didn't think they were mad at each other. I thought they were just, debating. Of course, I'm from a family of debaters, so I didn't think anything about it.
It's not mad unless you see Jerry Springer. Then at that point, you have a fight.
I mean, nobody threw their headset down and got up and walked away, right?
Well, you wouldn't be able to see if Steve did.
Oh,
no, he deserves everything. If we rip on him, he deserves it. Every little bit of it.
You know what? What's cool about Steve? Steve, again, I'm not poking fun at you. I just love at the beginning of the show, he's up. Then as time passes, he'll slick down. But to the point where you see, it's his eyes. Like he gets tired.
Me or William?
No. Steve D.
Oh, Steve D. Oh. Oh, yeah. Last show, he broadcasted from what looked like a cave. Like, all of his lights are off. It's funny.
Steve
Where
D,
was he?
man.
Is it his house? Just had lights off?
Yeah, he has the lights off for some reason. I don't quite know why.
Maybe the wifey is sleeping, dude.
It's a good possibility.
Steve D, you are the man.
We'll turn my lights off, see how it looks.
Go ahead, man. Do it. Yes. Look at.
You can see my Apple logo.
Wait.
good.
Is that Steve?
Now see how he's blurred? Oh, your camera focused on you. Steve D's camera just goes completely out of focus because there's no light.
I got a good camera.
Yeah.
It's a Logitech.
Logitech's alright for cameras.
Yeah.
Just
Pretty good.
the headsets aren't the greatest. Unless you, it's a Logitech headset, right, Matt?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yours doesn't sound bad because it actually looks expensive.
What? It looks as.
How much was it?
I think it was like 50,
It's pretty good.
50 or 60.
It looks
'cause
expensive. It's got all kinds of colors and stuff on it.
Yeah, I think it was 60. It's actually yeah, right. I asked for the colorful one. It's it's one of the portable ones. It's actually meant for notebooks for.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good. They see that Logitech has a past reputation for coming over a little tinny, a lot of treble. I have to add bass on a lot. I mean, especially William. I have to add so much bass when I do the final mix down on the audio, but on the video, I don't mix anything. So yours sounds good though.
Oh, good. And I got this one because the first time I was on Podnutz Daily, my father had one, and I borrowed his because I didn't feel like going buy one. And it worked. It worked fine. So when I was looking for one to buy, I just bought the same thing he had.
Uh-huh.
I like the little mute button.
Yeah, I do not have a mute button on my whole setup here. Actually, let me test. Let me see if this mutes it. Mute. You heard me the whole time, right, guys?
No, it muted.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
It did, really?
Yep.
When you say yup, Computer Pro, did it mean you heard me? Or you didn't hear me?
Start counting 1 to 10 and mute sometimes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, I didn't hear 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep.
How about you guys in the they heard it all? Damn it. That sucks.
Well, if you don't want me to hear, you can do that.
Yeah.
You don't want everyone else to hear.
Yeah.
I don't like knowing that. You might be muting me. Hey, I got one question for you, Steve.
Yes.
I was listening to the Mike Motto show, and he went to CES.
Mhm.
Is that something that you're going to do one year and go to CES?
Yeah, I wanted to go last year. I just, I didn't prepare. Didn't really have the time when it rolled around. I wanted to broadcast from there. Why?
I would love to go to CES one year.
Really?
And that press pass thing that he mentioned, that just pushes it over the edge.
Yeah, man.
Well,
They'll do it when. I mean, it's what? That's what month does that
it's
happen?
the beginning of
Usually-
January. It's like right after all the holidays and everything. It's tough time. But
You want to go, Matt?
I would love to go.
Let's plan it.
if you guys go next year, I'll definitely go.
All right, we'll plan it.
All right.
You're not going to bail? I heard you bail last year.
Oh,
I did, but I won't this time.
See, we need some commitments.
wow.
Oh, we want to like put it in writing.
I don't want to get out there and be the only one there, you know?
And I do it, dude. I'll walk around and act dumb and ask real questions. Is that wireless B?
Is this live?
Is this live?
I'll go if you guys go.
We
See,
can go find around and just follow Lee around and get in his camera a lot. Just stick our head in.
Get his camera on.
no, I can't stand when people do that. They just follow him around. And there was one guy who was following him around that was his show is basically a copycat of Leo's. It's
Really?
yeah, he had the same equipment Leo does. And not that mine is much different. I actually use whatever Leo does as a template, so I can't complain. I can't bitch about that. But hey, if the guy does something right, deserves to be copied.
Or I can be your bodyguard. Just wear some shades. Wear like a.
You'll be Sarah
mic.
Lane.
Sarah Lane's hot. I'm telling you. I like Sarah Lane. Steve thinks I'm psychotic, but Sarah Lane is a hottie. Sorry, people.
Well, you know what? There's a reason. Look,
Yes.
it's a tech show.
Yes.
There's if you want to scour if you want to go to find a chick on the internet, tech shows are not the place to look. I'm never gonna have a chick on this show unless she knows what she's talking about.
Hold on.
Unless she or if I do tech game show and I just get a girl on just to be a model for things. Other than
Are you
that,
telling me if we were at Applebee's and Sarah Lane was hitting, or if she wasn't even Sarah, just say her name, whatever, Sarah Lane, a Katy Perry, wherever you want. So are you telling me that you wouldn't talk to her?
what do you mean talk to her? I'm talking about having a girl on the show. If
Wait,
I
hold
will
on.
not have, I will not have girls on the show for the sake of them just being girls. I will
But
have
she
a girl
can
on the
carry a
show.
conversation, though, or technical conversation. How technical do you want to get?
Have you watched the show?
I have. Okay. Steve wants her to go into subnetting on IPv6. Sorry, Sirlene.
No, she needs to be at least be on par with the rest of the hosts. She's a host, for crying out loud. I mean, she needs to be on par. Tom Merritt, I'm sure he gets bored to tears.
No. All right. If you are listening to this on any, send Steve an email, please.
When I
Lala,
think
you
about
are
those
you are
shows is
very.
those-
Feel strongly about this, Lala. You are very wrong, and people will side with me on this. I'm guaranteed.
Wait, I'm confused. What is the argument here?
I think that Sarah Lane should not be on shows like TNT on the Twit Network. iPad Today, she's fine. And look, I think she's a very nice person. I have nothing against her personally, but when I tune in to hear tech news, I want to hear somebody who is up to date on tech, has done a little bit of homework, a teeny bit of homework about what they're talking about.
But you make it seem like she has no clue what's going on.
She has
I don't think
a minimal
yeah.
clue. A minimal
Right.
clue.
I think she has minimal. I think she's there more like she does that This Week in Fun and the iPad Today, which I kind of watched, but I kind of got tired of because of her. I think Becky Worley has much more knowledge than Sarah Lane, but she can't be on that much.
Yeah, Becky Worley has more knowledge, yet is a name dropper and a little too mainstream.
Is that Science Girl?
No,
Yeah, that's Dr. Kiki.
don't even get me started on that. Don't get me started. Let's get some more people like merit level people. That's what I want to see on Twit, personally.
Well, I think there's other people there to kind of stroke his ego. It seems they're always kissing up to him.
I don't know. So I think, yeah, he does a good job. I don't know if people are always kissing up. I don't get that.
Who?
But
Kissing up to who?
Tom Merritt. I'll tell you what. If you think that I'm the only one that has a problem with Sarah Lane on TNT, read the iTunes reviews for that show. I mean, just go by percentages of how many people say I can't stand Sarah on this show, and you'll know you'll get a feel for what people are going through. I wish they would read them. I was definitely thinking about sending them an email and being like, just look, I don't like her on the show. I think she's a nice person. iPad Today's fine, but just get her off TNT. And if you think I'm being harsh, read the iTunes reviews. That's all I ask. Just read the reviews. Read what your listeners are saying. Read what your listeners are taking the time and typing in iTunes and leaving this as a review to help you better the show. Because I think the show has got great potential, but Sarah shouldn't be on it. Sorry. That's just how I feel. I feel strongly about this.
I can tell.
All right, do we got it?
I don't mind her. I think she tries to, what's the word?
I can
Kind of
tolerate
dumb
her.
it down a little bit because she's not technical.
She's
But
not.
sometimes
I'm not saying.
when she says, well, and she tries to explain it in more basic terms, what I think her purpose is.
No, her purpose is she doesn't know what the subject, and she feels like she has to say something, so she says what she can. Like a lot of times in this show with me, I say what I can. But do you guys think I have any idea what you're talking about half the time? I don't. But see, but she, she's on there to add color and do whatever. But she just doesn't really know much of what's going on as much as the other guys. Anyway, it's what DSSJ TV said in the chat. I don't like super techie shows. I don't know about Kevin Rose, but with Tom Merritt, where not so smart people chime in and they don't know that much. That's what I feel is going on there. They chime in and they don't know that much. I want to learn something. I don't want to hear somebody who knows about as much as I do on the show. I want to learn something from the show, and I feel like I know more than her. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I like tech news, the TNT. It's more for me TNY.
What?
Because by the time it tech news yesterday, because when the time it comes out, it's late at night, and I listen to it the next day.
Are you serious? You have to have your tech news that fast? I'm serious. I mean, how fast?
A lot of times I already see it online, and
See,
then I talk about it.
I don't read like articles and blogs. I listen to shows, so that's the first time I hear about it. So I'm fine with it.
I check a few sites during the day. If I'm just on a remote session with somebody, I'll open up a browser in another monitor and I'll just look at some headlines.
Yeah. Do you read the Daily on your iPad?
No, I had the trial for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but no, I didn't use that.
Did you look at the trial at all?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did too. I don't. It's so not for me.
yeah, I didn't care for it. I mean, it was okay. I don't think it wasn't good enough for me to subscribe to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, or buy it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I do have some RSS feeds and Outlook that I look at, Engadget, CNET News.
Flipboard is awesome for that.
Yeah, I use Flipboard. So like at nighttime I'll be sitting on my chair and I'll flip through Flipboard, and so a lot of the stuff that they talk about on Tech News I already read about or looked at least saw a headline. I may have not read the whole article, but I've read a little bit about it already. But
when I'm ready to get some input of tech news and stuff, my eyes are usually so tired from looking at a screen most of the day that I just want to hear stuff in my ears, give my eyes a rest. So that's why I don't do too much reading of tech news. I like absorbing it in other ways.
yeah, I prefer it in podcasts, but a lot of it I'll get on headlines.
Yeah.
But when I'm sitting here doing remote sessions and I'm waiting for some scan to finish or somebody's doing something, I'm just waiting. I got multiple monitors, and I just ordered 3 24.5-inch monitors to put on my desk.
Serious.
With this big stand to mount them up on the.
Jeez.
What
brand?
Nice. HP monitors.
Are you Steven back there? Well,
No, I'm listening. I'm listening like the podcast from you.
Yeah, 324. So I have 24.5 times 3. I'm gonna have lots of monitor space.
70. Yeah.
That's too much real estate.
No, it's not. No. It's never too much. Never too much of real estate.
No?
I would like to mount 2 and then 2 above it. So, 4. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'm worried I might have to look up too much because, but I need more desk space. So
Yeah.
And
That's the only
video cards, right?
Oh yeah, I got a nice video card coming. A gigabyte of 1 gig of DDR5.
It can handle that many monitors?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have 3 monitors on this computer, but I had to take a video card out to give to one of my other techs because his went out. So I had to go down to 2, and it's 2 monitors. And come on.
That's great.
No, I mean seriously, I totally agree. Like before, if you never experienced dual monitors to 3 or 4 or 5, then you are thinking, who needs dual monitors? Wait till you go to someone or some type of setup where you're like, wow, this is so awesome.
Yeah, I need to get.
I have 3 at home.
See, I have actually 4 in front of my face right now, but they're all being used for podcasting purposes. I don't use it for like my work computer. But
yeah, 2's a minimum.
I mean, because you can watch stuff like Podnutz, the TV on one monitor, or when my baseball season starts, I subscribe to the MLB.com deal. So I have one monitor that just has, like the baseball on, or if my second monitor might have my Outlook, or if I'm doing it. It makes multitasking a lot easier. One thing I hate is working on something that has one monitor and you're minimizing, maximizing, you're resizing windows. Screw that. Just get it.
Really? I don't mind too much. It's almost like working on a desk. When you're done work, you can only work on so many things at a time. So when you're done with one, you just minimize it or close it out and open up something else. No. I don't mind one monitor.
No.
I guess I need to be exposed.
When I go to work on somebody's computer and they have one monitor, I'm like, oh my God.
Especially
when it's a small. When it's a small, yeah, like loser. When it's a small monitor, I'm like, how do you work?
Or what gets me is the people that get this shiny new 24-inch monitor and they go, "Can you set my resolution higher? It's too small." And it's like
800 by 600.
Yeah, I'm like, really?
I will never do that.
No,
native all the way. Come on.
I know, but I'm telling you, I heard this one person who had the biggest. They had one of these TVs that you can use for like the monitors.
Yeah.
And the resolution was set so low, the icon was like this big. I'm like, really? I said, but let me show you this. Oh no, and I don't like that. I haven't hit apply yet. What do you mean you don't like it? Or give me a second,
I didn't hit apply.
Yeah, I'll sometimes instead of changing the resolution, make the icons bigger. Just in the
right, or you can make the text bigger too.
Right. So I'd rather do that, but I hate it when I change that resolution. And then the websites don't fit. Even just a website, you got to scroll left and right.
They're all out of proportion and they're fuzzy.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't wait for my 3 monitors to come in.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
I'm using only 2 right now, but I'm getting by.
I'm getting by. No, man, I feel your pain, dude.
I know, man. This sounds like it's terrible.
I'm just serious. And I took one down to buy some more desktop space. And then I was like, man, this sucks. I'm going back to 3. I mean, I don't care if I have to move my mouse to the very edge of my desk. But hey, I got 3 monitors.
Yeah, and I think the 24.5-inch monitors are big enough to where I can put one thing on the left, one thing on the right, so I can actually have 6 pretty good sized screens on each monitor. Over the 3 monitors.
Yeah.
Like Outlook can be just half of one monitor, another internet browser on the same half of that monitor.
Damn. All right, I got to check it out. I got to do what you guys are doing. All right, I'm gonna set up the stream here. Throw this show in there. Into the playlist.
All right, so if we're gonna do CS, y'all, we can talk about that because I would like to go.
All right, because if we get the flights, we'll have to buy them nice and early because they're cheaper.
Okay. Open files.
How long is that? For a week?
It's for a week. Yeah, it's for a week.
All right, so I have to build my vacation time, which should not be a problem. Hey, boss, if you're watching this podcast, I need to take a week off in January 2012.
Of course, it is flu season. You can just say you're sick all week.
Yeah.
See, good thing about partner, I don't have to ask anybody.
Your partner.
I just tell him, yeah, I won't be here next week.
All right, Podnutz Pro 14's in the queue.
Awesome.
All right, you want to end this off, guys?
Yeah.
Matt,
yeah, sure thing. I'm going to go and get some sleep.
It's been enjoyable, Matt, as usual. Hope you get your monitors soon. I feel so bad for you. You only have 2.
I know. I've accepted my handicap now.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Hope the wife and kids they feel better, man.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Talk to y'all next week.
Bye.
See ya. And all of you guys watching, thank you very much as usual. Thanks for contributing in the chat room. And hope you like the show. What show is on next? I think I'm DSS. I think I'm going to run well, you tell me what you guys want to see. You want to see the rerun of this show, or do you want to see Podnutz episode 57? You tell me. I'll wait for the answer.
Podnutz Daily episode 1.
Podnutz 57? Yeah, Wilderbear, it'll be live. You could chat to us the whole time.
Yeah.
Podnutz Ultimate. That's a good name for a show. I like that. Computer Pro. I don't know what it would be about, but it sounds bad. Doesn't it, Podnutz Ultimate, sound awesome? All right. All right, guys, we'll check in a little bit. Tune in tomorrow for Android App Addicts Nuts at Night, and enjoy the recordings. They're going to start in about a minute or 2. See you guys.